All right, we're going to get started here on section 4.6, graphing lines in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is in the form y equals mx plus b. That's right here. The variable m stands for slope, and the variable b stands for your y-intercept. And we also have the variables x and y, which in your equation there, when you write an equation for slope-intercept form, you always have the xy, but xy represents an ordered pair on the line. For instance, if we have this equation, y equals 3x minus 5, right below the m is the 3, and right below b is negative 5. Don't forget to pay attention to your signs here. 3 is positive, 5 is negative. In this example, y equals negative x plus 12. Well, it's easy to see that b is 12. But what's the slope? Well, if we look, we know that there's a negative sign in front of x, and it's the number in front of x is the slope. And what number is in front of x? It's your negative 1. It's the invisible 1. So in this instance, negative 1 is your slope. B is 12. Your y-intercept is 12. This next example here is not in mx plus b form, so you have to manipulate it a little bit to get it into slope-intercept form. We know that we have everything on top of the parentheses here will be divided by 4, so each individual term is divided by 4. So what you do is you set 3x over 4 and negative 2 over 4. And typically we don't put the x on top of the fraction. We will put it off to the side. And from here, we know y is equal to 3 over 4x minus, what does 2 over 4 reduce to? It reduces to 1/2. And now we are in mx plus b form. Y equals 3 over 4x minus 1/2. You notice the m is the slope, which is 3/4, and b is the y-intercept, which is negative 1/2. For this example here, it is already in slope-intercept form. It doesn't look like it because there's no variable x, but if we look here, we know that if we have this set up as y is equal to 0x, and over here it's a positive 3, so we'll go right plus 3. If we have it set up y is equal to 0x plus 3, the reason why we can get rid of 0x is because 0 times x is 0. And simplifying, 0 plus 3 is 3. So y is equal to 0x plus 3. The slope in this case, m, is going to be 0. The y-intercept is going to be a positive 3. This one right here, y isn't even on one side all by itself. The previous examples, y was always on the left side of the equal sign all by itself, but we don't have that anymore. In this case, we're going to change it to slope-intercept form, which we're trying to get y all by itself. And in doing so, get y all by itself, we have to get rid of the positive 3x. So the opposite of a positive 3x is negative 3x. On the left side here, the 3x's will cancel each other off. We're left with negative 5y. That's equal to, now we have 12 minus 3x, and we cannot combine those because the negative 3 has an x with it and the 12 does not. And to put this in slope-intercept form, we should always, if you look up here, we should have y is equal to mx plus b. So therefore, we're going to put the negative 3 first, the negative 3x first, and the 12 is positive, so we put positive 12 after it. Now, we still don't have y all by itself, but that's just a matter of dividing the left side by negative 5, and then dividing everything on the right side by negative 5. The negative 5's cancel. Y is equal to, we have negative 3 divided by negative 5. That makes a positive 3/5. You can't reduce 3 and 5. It's already in reduced form. And then we move the x off to the side. If we look, we have a positive 12 divided by negative 5. That's going to give us a negative. And 12 divided by 5, those numbers do not reduce. So we are left with this equation. Now if we write this, y is equal to 3/5 x minus 12/5. We can see that m, the slope, is going to be 3/5, and b, the y-intercept, is negative 12/5. Looking at this next example, this one is in slope-intercept form. The only difference is we don't have a b on the end of it. It's there, you just don't see it because it says plus 0. When you add 0 to negative 2/3 x, you just get negative 2/3 x. And that's the reason why the equation did not have the 0 there with it. So m, and there's your b. So m is negative 2/3. That'll be your slope. And your y-intercept is 0. Here are 4 problems. Take a moment. You might want to pause the video. Take a moment and try and work those 4 problems out. On the next 4 pages, I will provide you with a solution to those. And you can check your work to see if you are getting the correct answers. For this example, the first example, y is equal, or I'm sorry, m, the slope, is equal to negative 1/3, and b, the y-intercept, is equal to 4. this example here, you could rewrite it since there's no x term in there. It's 0x and a positive 1/3. When there's no x term, you know that you multiplied it by 0 to get rid of it. So the slope is 0, the y-intercept is 1/3. This is one of those problems where we have to manipulate it a little bit. Since we're dividing everything on the right side by 5, you'll split it up. You'll put a 5 underneath the 4. Since it says 4 minus x on top, we put the negative sign in between, and we have x over 5. So we've divided 4 by 5, and we divided x by 5 to make this our next step. We should rewrite this so that it says y equals mx plus b. So y is equal to, well, we know there's an invisible 1 in front of that x. So y is equal to negative 1/5. Put the x off to the side. And the y-intercept is a positive 4/5. So our slope is negative 1/5. Our y-intercept is positive 4/5. This one here, we have to move some things in order to get y all by itself. First step is to move the x. Try and get the x over here on the right side. The x's will cancel off, and we're left with positive 4y on the left side. That's equal to, since we're trying to get mx plus b, we're going to put the x term first, and that's a positive 10. To get y by itself, divide by 4. We divide everything by 4. So y is equal to negative 1/4. Move the x off to the right side. And plus 10/4. 10/4, 2 goes into both of those numbers. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes into 4 twice. So here's your slope-intercept form of the equation. The slope, negative 1/4. The y-intercept, 5/2. Now, let's graph. And we're moving into graphing. If you have that equation up there in the top, y equals negative 2x plus 4, your first step should always be to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Slope and the y-intercept. You know from your previous experience that the y-intercept is where the line is going to cross the y-axis. So y-axis is the vertical axis there. And so if the line is going to cross the y-axis where b is equal to 4, all you do is you put your first point. If b is equal to 4 here, that means that that ordered pair, since b is your y-intercept, that ordered pair is 0, 4. You basically count up 1, 2, 3, 4, and you put your point. That's going to be the y-intercept of your line. Now, where do we put our next point at? Well, the slope is negative 2. Well, we need a change in y over a change in x. This is from your slope section. Change in y over the change in x. Well, we don't have a fraction with -2, but we know that we can make it a fraction by putting it over top of 1. So we have the slope is -2 over 1. So how are we going to plot that? Well, the change in y is -2, so that means we go down 2. So from the y-intercept that you just plotted, right here, from the y-intercept you just plotted, you go down 2. There's 1, there's 2. Now, you're going to have a run of a positive 1, so that means you go to the right 1, and you put your point. You can do that again. Go down 2, and to the right 1, and you plot a point. And you can keep doing that so you can make a fairly straight line. Now, if we go back up here, we can connect all these dots. Put arrows on the ends of it. And you have the equation y equals -2x plus 4. This equation here, it's not in slope-intercept form, but this one here doesn't take a whole lot to put it in slope-intercept form. You're just trying to get y all by itself. Subtract 4x from both sides, so therefore y is equal to -4x minus 8. And m is equal to -4. And b, the y-intercept, is equal to -8. So remember, the y-axis is the vertical. So you take and plot your first point. Since it's the y-intercept, it is 0, -8. Start here at the origin. You count down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You put your point. It's going to be your y-intercept. Now we have a slope of -4, which we know that can be over 1. But also, if we come over here to our graph where our y-intercept is, if we try to go down 4, that's going to take us off the graph, and we're going to run out of room. So we kind of have to change this. You have to take what you know about positive and negative numbers. Our slope is, our m is -4, which we can put the negative sign like we have now with -4 over 1. Or if we move the negative sign down to the bottom, we have 4 over -1, and that'll change the way we move from point to point. So that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using 4 over -1. And if that hasn't changed anything, 4 over -1 is still -4. So if we look, we started our y-intercept. There's a y-intercept at -8. And if we're going to move a 4, that's a change in the y, so that means, is that going up or down? So +4 means we go up 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and a -1 means we go to the left 1 and put our point. We do that again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and to the left 1, and plot your point. And you can even do it one more time to get a nice lengthy line. And you have enough points there to connect the dots. real helpful if you have a ruler or some sort of straight edge to make that line straight. Looking at this one's a straightforward. You can tell that the slope is 1/2 and the y-intercept, make sure you pay attention to the sign here, is -3. So therefore, start out by plotting the y-intercept, B. We're at the origin. We go down 3 to plot the y-intercept. And for a slope of 1/2, remember the change in y over the change in x. So the change in y, since y is the vertical axis, the axis that goes up and down, change in y for this slope is 1. So that means we start at the y-intercept, and we go up 1. Now the change in x is a +2, which means we go 1, 2 places to the right, and put your point. You go up 1 and 2 places to the right, put your point. Up 1, 2 places to the right, and put your point. And you can continue there. You could also go down 1 and 2 places to the left and plot your points to give you a longer line here. Since it's a line, you still have arrows on each end of it. And you have graphed y equals 1/2 x minus 3. This equation, the slope is -3/4. Now the whole point of this negative sign here, it has to go with either the 3 or you can have a slope where it is with the 4. Because in either case, if you look at the top case here, a negative divided by a positive will give you -3/4. And then in the bottom case, a positive divided by negative will still give you a -3/4. So if you have a negative sign outside of your slope, it goes with one of the numbers in your slope. It does not go with both of them. It only goes with one of them. And the y-intercept is a +2. Let me erase one of these so we can so you know which one I'm using here. Y-intercept is +2, so you plot your point, 0, +2. That's going to be your y-intercept. Start at the origin right here in the middle, and you go up 1, you go up 2, plot your point. That's your y-intercept. Now your slope of -3/4, you start at the y-intercept, and you go down 1, 2, 3 for your change in y, that's down 3, and your change in x on the bottom is a +4, so that's 4 places to the right. Go ahead and do that again. 1, 2, 3 down, and 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the right. Like we did in the last one, we could have went up 1, 2, 3 from the y-intercept, and 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. And if we had done that, up 3 and 4 to the left, So if we have change in y over change in x, that's going to be 3 over negative 4, which was the slope that I just erased. And we know 3 over negative 4 is still negative 3/4. So I'll go ahead and connect these. And there's the line for y equals negative 3/4 x plus 2. Number 18, you have this one here. Y equals 1/3 x. Don't forget the negative sign in front of it. Y equals negative 1/3 x. So if we know y is equal to mx plus b, the slope is going to be either negative 1 over 3, which is also equal to 1 over negative 3. So make sure you put the negative sign with only one of the numbers. Now what's b going to be here? If you look above b, there's nothing there. And if there's nothing there, that means you've added 0. You've added 0 to the equation. So if the y-intercept is 0, that means the y value is 0. What's the x value going to be? The x value is still 0. And that right there is the origin. That's where the y-intercept is. It crosses the y-axis at 0. In your slope, we're going to use this slope here, negative 1/3. So from the y-intercept, right there at the origin, you go down 1 and to the right 3. Plot your first point. Do it again. Plot your second point. And you can do it for a fourth time. Now let's look here. If I wanted to plot this slope, we start at the y-intercept right here at the origin again. And a positive 1, that's a change in y, so that means you go up 1. And negative 3 means to the left for your change in x. Negative 3. Do the same thing. And now you have points on both sides of the y-axis to plot your line. Y equals negative 1/3 x is what you have there. This equation here, y equals negative x plus 5. You have to remember that there's the negative 1 there. The invisible 1 is there. So your slope is either negative 1 over 1 or 1 over negative 1. And your y-intercept is a positive 5. So let's plot that positive 5 for your y-intercept. You start at the origin and you count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you plot your y-intercept. Now for the slope of negative 1 over 1, start at the y-intercept. You go down 1 to the right 1, put your point. Down 1 to the right 1, put your point. Down 1 to the right 1. And you notice that it has this pattern here of where it's going down 1 to the right 1. And you should be able to continue graphing it along that pattern down there along the bottom part of the line. And now if we wanted to graph that type of slope there, Start at your y-intercept right here. Top number is 1, so that means the change in y means you go up 1. The bottom number is -1, so you go left 1. You go up 1, left 1, up 1, and left 1. And you continue your line like that. And you have y equals -x plus 5. This equation is one of those equations where you have to manipulate it a little bit. So we're going to divide x by 5, and you divide 5 by 5. And when you do this, you can simplify some things here. You know the invisible 1 is front of the x, so you put a 1/5, and you put your x off to the side. And we know that if 5 over 5 will reduce to +1. We have a slope and a y-intercept here. The slope is 1/5. The y-intercept, +1. So we're going to plot the y-intercept first. You start at the origin. You go up to 1 on the y-axis. And how do you plot a slope of 1/5? Well, the change in y is on top, so that means you go up 1. Change in x is on bottom. To the right, 5. You go up 1, to the right, 5. You could have also went down 1 and to the left 5, and down 1 and to the left 5. And you have this line. That slope where we went down 1 and to the left 5, well, if we do change in y over top of the change in x, you have -1 over -5, and we know a negative divided by a negative will give us a positive, and that's the reason why a slope of 1/5 is equal to a slope of -1 over -5. This this equation here, it's not written in y equals mx plus b form. It's kind of written in y equals b plus mx form. And you should be able to recognize it like this. But you should also be able to switch it around. That's a -3x. And the 6 is positive. You switch it around like this, knowing that m is -3 and b is a +6. So to graph this, you start at the origin and you go on the y-axis to +6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you put your y-intercept. Now the slope here is -3, but we need to have a change in y over a change in x, and we don't have that yet, but we know that anytime we have a number, we can put it over top of 1 and we still get that number. So if we have -3 over 1, go back to your y-intercept, you go down 1, 2, 3, that's your change in y, and your change in x is a +1. You put a point. Do that again. And again. You should be able to graph. You should be able to graph straight over the line than that. But that's what it for the most part, looks like. 22 here, y equals 10. Well, there's no x term in here, and that's because the 0 is in front of it. Y equals 10. The slope, 0. Y-intercept, 10. So how are we going to do this? Well, first off, you plot your y-intercept first. From your origin, you go on the y-axis to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, a slope of 0, we know we can put it over top of 1. So that means the change in y is 0, means we don't move from our y-intercept, but our change in x is a positive 1. So we put a point there. And you can keep moving over 1 and putting those points. And you notice that this is a horizontal line that crosses the y-axis at positive 10. So y equals 10. Looks like that line at the very top of the coordinate plane. This example, 8x plus 2y is equal to 16. Well, you have to try and get y by itself. So your first step would probably be to move the 8x. Subtract 8x from both sides, and you're going to get negative 8x, and the 16 is positive, so we put plus 16. And to get y by itself, you divide the left side by 2, and you divide everything on the right side by 2. 2's cancel off there. You're left with y is equal to, well, you have negative 8 divided by 2. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. And 8 divided by 2 is going to give you 4x. And then you have 16 over 2, which is an 8. A positive divided by a positive, positive 16 divided by positive 2 gives you positive 8. And we know our slope is negative 4. Y-intercept is 8. So to plot it, start here at the origin. We go up to 8. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with your first point. And your slope is 4. Your slope is negative 4. And we want to make that a fraction, so we put it negative 4 over 1. Go back to the y-intercept there. And to do your slope, you go down 4. Your change in y is down 4. And your run is a positive 1. Slope, again, down 4. And with a positive 1 for a run. And connect the dots here. And there, graphed, you have the equation 8x plus 2y is equal to 16, which you change to become y equals 4x plus 8, or y equals negative 4x plus 8. In this graph here, it has some fractions for both the slope and the y-intercept. So we have y equals negative 2/3 x. From our previous examples, we know we put the negative sign with only one of those numbers. either one. It doesn't matter which one you put it with. And your y-intercept is 5 over 2. And where do we graph the y-intercept of 5 over 2 at? Well, we know that 2 goes into 5 2 times. There's going to be 1 left over. So 5 over 2 is 2.5. So that's where we plot our y-intercept. We go start here at the origin. We go up 1, up 2, and it's halfway between 2 and 3. So it's somewhere right in there. And the slope of negative 2/3 is what we're going to be plotting now. So negative 2/3. Well, you start at your y-intercept here of 5/2, and we're going to do a change in y, which is negative 2. So it means we go down 1, down 2, and the change in x is a positive 3. So that takes us here for 1, 2, 3, and we put our point. Do the same thing again, down 2, and to the right, 1, 2, 3, and you put your point. Down 2, and to the right, 3, and put your point. And from here, you can graph you a line. And you have the equation y equals negative 2/3 x plus 5/2.